Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about Notes of a Native Son, written by James Baldwin. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. Now, Notes of a Native Son is an essay. It's very interesting. It has a lot to do with race. It has a lot to do with growing up in America when it was, pretty much just a powder keg in terms of racism, and in terms of black people trying to live in America after they've been freed. They've been freed from slavery. After they're trying to adjust to in the country, and they're trying to be a part of the country, but it's really hard because they're not accepted by the dominant population in America at the time. So James Baldwin, throughout this essay, he tells us about his father, his relationship with his father, and his pretty much he tells us a lot about his mother, his family members, the country, the state of the country, the state of black people in America. He tells us a lot about what black people were going through in America before civil rights, black soldiers going to war and coming back home and not being welcomed in certain places and just not being celebrated as the white soldiers are. Just social tensions everywhere. This essay is carefully woven in with so much. You really have to pay attention. You really have to read this essay slowly to understand what's going on, because it's not just about his family, it's about his upbringing, his education, his relationship with his father, a sibling being born, his education. This essay is just jam-packed with information, and it can get quite overwhelming at times because you really got to slow down and really figure out what's going on. So at the beginning of the essay, we're introduced to him, his family, what's going on with his family, and how his family is kind of like dealing with social tension, and just them being black living in a white world, because his father is descending from pretty much slavery. So his father's parents were coming from slavery. So his father grew up in a world where he didn't get along with white people. White people rejected him everywhere he went. They rejected him, and so his father was kind of like a bitter and a bitter man. He worked hard all his life. He worked hard to feed his children, to keep his children alive. His father was religious, preaching in church, but no one liked him in the black community. No one liked him in the white community. So he was a man who was bitter. No one got close to him. So he was kind of like a black man living in an America where there was no civil rights, there was no justice, and no one liked you. So James Baldwin's father did not have a good life. And even his kids didn't like him, because he would try to make them happy, make, how kids run to their parents when their parents come home after work. James Baldwin's dad tried to be that, but he just couldn't be that. And so he tries to teach throughout the essay. We see these scenes where James Baldwin's dad is just trying to teach him about how to not trust white people, and James Baldwin doesn't have the same views as him until he experiences racism, and he experienced the weight of white people. And the things that might sound silly, but the things until you experience it, until you go through it, you won't understand it. And what happens is, within this essay, James Baldwin with his friend, they go to a movie, and after a movie they go into a diner, and throughout the essay we kind of get these little scenes where James Baldwin, he goes into restaurants, he goes into different bowling alleys, restaurant, certain movie theaters, certain establishments, and they just don't serve black people. They say they don't serve Negroes there, and so he has to leave. He has to go find places where they do serve black people, basically. And it gets to you after a while. When the door is being, because of your skin color, if the door is being, it is being slammed on your face over and over again. Everyone's saying no. Everyone's saying no. You're getting denied jobs. You're getting denied places to live. You're getting denied places to eat. You're getting denied places to use the bathroom. You're getting denied left and right. You're being arrested. You're being prosecuted. You're being killed. You're being attacked in every single area, every single angle, every single side, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's coming, it's going because of your skin color. James Baldwin just snaps. He just snaps, he just snaps, and it gets to you when you start to feel that weight and those no's, those door slams, those people just going against you because of your race. It starts feeling physical. It starts feeling heavy. It starts feeling like you can't get over it. It starts feeling you can't move. And pretty much he kind of snaps within the essay. He doesn't go crazy, like mentally crazy, but he just couldn't take it anymore. After this last note from this restaurant, this restaurant that only serves white people, he goes out into the street and he just sees a sea of white people coming at him. If he feels like they're coming at him, it's kind of like he just has a breakdown in the middle of the street, and he basically. He doesn't say he can't breathe, but when you're reading the essay, it feels like he's being strangled by racism, by the pressure, by the society that he lives in. It's kind of like a claustrophobic moment. And he literally becomes violent, and he tries to attack this waitress in this essay when she tells him they don't serve Negroes at this restaurant. And he doesn't know what to do, and it's just all coming at him. And he finally kind of understand what his father meant when he was telling him, don't trust white people, don't mingle with them because they're just going to bring about your destruction. Now, this was in the past. Not all people are the same people. I mean, if it wasn't for white people, we wouldn't have, civil rights. You wouldn't have people escaping to the North in the time of slavery in America. In the time of slavery, in the time of segregation in America, not all white people were trying to keep black people down. Not all white people were trying to kill and suppress black people. Martin Luther King, he had a lot of white people marching with him. Martin Luther King, another civil rights leader, he had a lot of white people supporting him, financing the civil rights movement. It's a testament to how America can come together and change the dominant view. The dominant view in America today, white people, not all white people are trying to keep black people down, keep people, minorities down. It's a specific group. It's a group that is just not in the dominant culture. But during this essay, during what James Baldwin is saying, he's living in a time where the dominant culture believes in keeping black men down, and just keeping immigrants down, keeping people of color down. And he just comes to a point where he just had enough. He can't deal with it anymore, and he acts out. And then, after the adrenaline runs off, and he realizes what he's doing and how he's to these white people, he's seeming in the street, he seems like a crazy man. And you can't really blame him, but he does, he throws things at a waitress. He seems like a crazy man for a while. They call the police. He runs away, and then he realized what he did, and that he could have been killed for acting out. He comes down, and there's so much more to this essay. After all this happens, his father dies. His mother gives birth to his father's child because the mother was pregnant. So the father dies, and a child is born, a sibling is born. James Baldwin, and there was 9 siblings. So he has a lot of brothers and sisters. There's just so much family dynamics. It's him working through his family, working with his siblings, trying to create relationship with his siblings and his father. The one he had with his father was not that great. I mean, after his father died and he understood his father's messages, the world seemed clear to him, and his father seemed more human, and like he felt more connected to his father by the end of the essay. But there was a lot of tension throughout the essay in the family. And also his father gets buried basically while he was celebrating his birthday. So he's like pretty much drunk and intoxicated while they're burying his father. And he loves his, I mean, I can't say he loved his father. You can't really, pretty much, because I mean his father was just a hard person to get to know. So I mean he cared for his father, and pretty maybe deep down he loved his father, but the relationship was not perfect. um the siblings just didn't like their father because he was just so bitter and so mean. And it's not his fault. It's just because when you're being beaten down, and James Baldwin uses the word white faces. He feels the weight of white faces. When you're being beaten down and you're being told no, you're being prosecuted, you're being hunted, you're being killed in the streets, it's kind of hard to come home to your children and be happy. So you have to understand what James Baldwin's father went through as a man who's living in America where there's no civil rights. It's kind of like after slavery, but you don't have any rights. So I mean, James Baldwin thought he just didn't live a good life, and so the father dies. The siblings move on. The mother is a little bit worried because the father was keeping the kids alive. He was kind of low key protecting them. James Baldwin, he understood his father after his father dies, which is, I mean, it's kind of like a regular thing. People usually understand a lot of people better when they die. I don't know what that means. It's kind of interesting, and it's something I'm curious about. That people like we always understand people better, or we assume that we understand people better after they die. That's something to think about. So all of that happens. James Baldwin kind of goes back to his life after his father dies, and everybody kind of moves on. And the other thing that happens in the essay that's kind of significant, there's a lot of this essay. There's a lot in it. There's a lot that's being. I mean, you get politics, you get racial, controversy. You get James Baldwin facing, I guess, white America. There's a lot that goes down. But the other thing that's really significant in this essay is that there's pretty much a riot that breaks in Harlem where there's a little incident that happens in a hotel where this white officer gets into a confrontation with a black man who was a soldier, and they get into a confrontation. It's something about a black woman. It gets messy. It gets really messy, and somehow the newspapers say that the white officer shot the black soldier, but no, he didn't really shoot the black soldier. The black soldier was fine. It was a confrontation. Nobody died, but the newspaper said the black man died, and this caused a riot. And the thing is, like, it's from all of the tension, all of the pressure. It was just a powder keg. It was just a powder keg waiting to explode. Harlem, you have a bunch of black people, you have a bunch of white people, you have soldiers coming back from war. The country is teeming with anger, hatred, prosperity, all of this and that and the fourth. And so Harlem just blows up. People attack restaurants, stores, they smash everything to bits. Black people from the project, James Baldwin says that they just needed something to smash. So they take out to the street of Harlem and just break everything, smash everything, destroy everything, just to get that pressure, that weight, just to somehow, at least for a few days, to get it off their shoulders. And the essay, I mean, it doesn't really end in a good place. I mean, James Baldwin kind of understood his world better, tried to understood his father better. But there's just so much that happens in this essay about the time that this was written in, about what was going on with the family, about what was going on in politics and in the country, in the United States at the time. And it's really fascinating, and it just makes you think about race and how black people live in America. In terms of analysis, in terms of a deeper meaning here, I mean, it's just as to when you listen to the description of just how the pressure of racism. Because I mean, in 2020 today, in the 21st century today, there is racism, but it's kind of like low key racism. Things are still happening to black people that are unfair, but it's kept quiet. But back then, it was just out for everybody to see. It was out on the street. It was just so horrific. And I mean, imagine if you're a black man, you're living in a time that, James Baldwin is writing this essay. As a black man, you're literally underneath a spotlight. No matter what you do, no matter where you go, people have assumptions that you're crazy, that you're violent, that you're a threat. They won't give you work. They won't give you a job. They won't let you eat in certain places. They won't let you talk to them. They all hate you. You didn't do anything to them. You didn't hurt them. You didn't threaten them. But just because you're black, just because you don't look like them, they hate you. They look at you like you are just a villain. And James Baldwin is just looking at these sea of faces, of white faces, looking at him and staring at him. And he never met them. He doesn't know them. I mean, he's just a human being that was just born into the world just like everybody else, and he's being hated and he's being hunted, and he's just feeling this pressure and he doesn't know what to do with it, and he just snaps under it. So that's very fascinating. Even though for black people, we're very blessed that we live in a country now where we do have civil rights. We can get jobs. We can go into pretty much. I'm going to say pretty much every restaurant we went into. I don't know. There's some little towns. There's some little towns like way down in the middle of nowhere in America that I'm not going to. Listen. You stick to the metropolitans, okay? If you're black, even though it's we're in the 21st century. If you're black, kind of stay in the big cities. Don't go into those no-name little towns where there's no internet and no cell phones. They might never see you again. So I'm gonna say pretty much 98% of all restaurants and all businesses we can go into, just skip little towns like those one sheriff towns. Yeah, stay out of those because you never know. You never know. So that's just my opinion on the matter. There's a lot to say. There's a lot you can take from it and just think about today and just how life has changed and also how hard it was to live in the time when James Baldwin, it wasn't easy. No rights, no nothing. It's a very tough way to live and exist. So yeah, that's everything. That's what I think about this essay. Those are my thoughts. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment, and I'll see you guys in my next video.